Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Professor Sides, and this course is Principles of Macroeconomics. We're in Chapter 10, Measuring a Nation's Income. And this segment of the lecture will cover real versus nominal GDP. When we talk about GDP, it is not enough to measure it, but we also need to be able to interpret the data when we see it. In economics, we have two parameters or two conditions when it comes to indicators, whether it's GDP, interest rates, it doesn't matter what the economic indicator is, we always have two parameters, real and nominal. Real means that it's adjusted, usually for inflation or for some type of price value. And then the second one is nominal, which is current or unadjusted. So whenever you see a statistic, GDP, interest rate, inflation rate, if you see just that topic, then it is in the figure that is attached to it is in nominal terms or current terms. If you see the phrase real GDP, real interest rate, real inflation rate, then you know that that figure has been adjusted to a base year, and we're using it to compare it to a second or even a third year or over a period of time. Real, again, is based on a past year. That past year is what we call the base year and is used for comparative analysis only. Nominal is in current terms or current dollars. Now, let's look at the difference between real and nominal GDP. We have here as our first example, you the consumer having a choice between pizza or lattes. Remember, I told you in class that economics is the study of behavior, of consumer behavior, and that we make some assumptions. One of those assumptions is that you, the consumer, in your behavior, you will act and operate rationally, meaning you will buy the best that you can given the resources that you have. So you're not going to buy cheap quality when you have a lot of money, or we rationally assume that you would not go into debt to buy something that you don't want to have. So if you don't want to own a shotgun, you wouldn't go to the bank, borrow money to buy a shotgun, because it would not make sense rationally for you to buy a gun if you don't like guns. So here in this example, you have a choice between pizza and lattes. And what we're looking at here, again, is the price for the pizza, the quantities that are sold for the pizza, the price for the lattes, the quantities that are sold for the lattes. And then we're going to compare 3 years. So since we see that there are 3 years presented and we have two products that we're looking at, we automatically know that we're going to look at not just real value, but we're also going to look at nominal value. So in this country, the country of Lane, there's only two products that are sold, and these are the prices. In 2011, the price of a pizza was $10, and the price of a latte was $2. And at this price, in 2011, 400 pizzas and 1,000 lattes were sold. In 2012, the price of pizzas went up $1 to $11, and even though the price went up, quantity also went up $500, and the price of lattes went up 50 cents to $2.50, and the quantity of lattes went up 100 for 1,100 total. And then in 2013, the price of pizza went up again $1. Quantity went up 600. Lattes went up 50 cents for $3, and quantity went up 1,200 lattes were sold at $3. So basically what we're looking at is we're seeing that the prices are rising, For pizza, it rose $1 every year for 3 years. And for lattes, it rose 50 cents every year for 3 years. But even though the prices increased, we also saw an increase in quantity sold. This is quantity sold. Now, when we talk about pizza costing $10, $11, or $12, we're saying that that is the nominal or current price. And so when we're calculating the nominal GDP, we can look and see that in 2011, we would take $10, the price of the pizza. We multiply it by how many pizzas were sold, because remember, GDP is the sum total of consumption, investment, government spending, and net exports. This would fall under consumption. So we would have 10 times 400 plus 2 times 1,000, because we can only buy 2 products in this economy, pizzas and lattes. And so we have to sum it in order to find out what our GDP is. And in 2011, our GDP is 6,000. We do the same process for 2011 and 2012. We take the price of the pizza times the quantity sold, add to it the price of the lattes times the quantity sold, and we see that our GDP for 2012 is 8,250. And then we also see for 2012, our GDP is 10,800. Now, what does this mean? Does that mean that we have inflation? Does it mean that our economy is growing? What does that mean? Well, when we look at not in terms of nominal, we can see that prices, yes, prices did increase, but then quantity or production also increased. And so we could, based on nominal GDP, infer that, in fact, the economy is growing. But if we really wanted to know if the economy was really growing, that there was growth, meaning increased production, or if it was just a case of inflationary pricing, we would need to do some type of a comparison, and that's where real GDP comes in. And what we find is this: if we make 2011 our base year, and we say that we're going to fix our price at $10 for a pizza and $2 for a latte, then what we will see is that by comparatively speaking, what we see before we do the real part, what we see is that in terms of nominal, let's go back to nominal. In terms of nominal, we see that from 6,000 to 8,250, there's a 37.5% increase. And then from 2012 to 2013, where it was 8,250 to 10,800, there's a 30.9% increase. And so we see that there is an increase, but we need to make sure, we need to determine whether that increase is due to high prices or if it's due to quantity produced. So to find the real GDP, I had skipped ahead a little bit, but to find the real GDP, basically what we do is we take a base year. We pick one year and we say that's the base. In this example, we're going to make 2011 base year. Now, we could have made 2012 or 2013. It doesn't matter. You just have to pick a year and then hold prices constant. This is what we're going to do. Hold prices constant, and then see if pricing, high prices, rising prices, or inflation is the cause for our growing or expanding GDP. Because from the previous slide, we saw that GDP is increasing. Now we need to determine if that's due to rising prices or inflation, or if it's due to growth and production. So 2011 is our base year. And what we do when we are determining real GDP, you take base year prices and multiply it by current year quantities. And then that way we can compare apples to apples, oranges to oranges. So if you will, when we do our real GDP analysis and we make 2011 the base year, we're going to keep constant the price, $10 for pizza, $2 for lattes, and then we're going to multiply it by the quantity so that we can determine real GDP. So 2011 is our base year, so it would be 10 times 400. Then it would be for 2012, 10 times 500, and then for 2013, 10 times 600. And likewise for the lattes, $2 times 1,000 for 2011, $2 times 1,100 for 2012, and then $2 times 1,200 for 2013. And the product, 10 times, plus, when we sum the product, remember from math, sum, add up the product, multiply, then we will get real GDP. So let's look here. 10 times 400 plus 2 times 1,000 is 6,000. That's the same in current as in real because that's the base. Then we take 2011's price and multiply by 2012's quantity. 10 times 5 plus 2 times 11, and we get 7,200. And then 10 times 6 plus 2 times 12 equals 8,400. Now, now we have real GDP. The first slide was nominal GDP. This slide is now real GDP, and we're going to look at next our increase. So as we can see here, we do have an increase in GDP. Here from 2011 to 2012, there's a 20% increase. And from 2012 to 2013, there's a 16.7% increase. Now, again, remember I told you that when we talk about real GDP, we are doing comparative analysis. You now are the analyst for this data. I've given you this data, now let's analyze it. So what we find, remember from the first slide, when we multiply price times quantity for 2011, nominal GDP was 6,000. And because 2011 is the base year, it is also the amount for real GDP. When we take 2012, the nominal GDP was 8,250, and 2013 was 10,800. We see the increase. And then when we take 2011 prices and apply it to 2012 and 2013 quantities, we see again 6,000 for 2011, that's the base year. 2011 prices with 2012 quantities or production or output is 7,200, and with 2013 it's 8,400. See the difference? Now the difference comes again because we use 2011 prices. So our current prices are here, our adjusted prices are here. Remember from the first slide, the change, the percentage change between 2011 and 2012, we saw a 37.5% increase in GDP. And here from 2012 to 2013, GDP grew by 30.9%. That's nominal or current. And then when we adjust it, we see that GDP only increased by 20% in the same time frame between 2011 and 2012, and 16.7% between 2012 and 2013. Now, how do we interpret this data? Basically what it is saying is this, that when we use the base year 2011, GDP only actually grew by 20% in the first year, and then an additional 16.7% in the second year. And that the difference between 37.5 and 20, or 17.5%, is due to rising prices, not from growth. So the growth of the economy, of the country's economy, it only grew 20, and that additional 17.5% is inflation. Likewise, that second year, we've already grown and expanded by 20, and then the following year we grew by an additional 16.7%. And so the difference between 30.9 and 16.7% is due to inflation. And that is how we interpret nominal versus real in terms of GDP in this instance. Thank you again. I look forward to speaking to you with the next segment, which is the GDP deflator. Have a good day.